Most refugees in the Asia Pacific live with few rights, and each year only 0.4% find permanent protection. We are losing generation of human potential. Refugees are frontline responders to crisis in their communities. This is almost always unpaid and means workers still need to find income, care for their immediate family, and find ways to deal with practical issues like lack of registration or language skills. But in the Asia Pacific, donors are not widely funding refugee leaders, and refugees are often left out of decision-making processes. This is again despite the widespread acknowledgement that meaningful participation of people receiving aid is the path to best outcomes. We also note that historically, refugees have been involved in designing significant frameworks, including the early days of the United Nations High Commissioners for Refugees. The most powerful and transformative action that response sector can make is to enable refugees to influence decision-making, and supporting refugee-led education is a key piece to this systemic change. I have to say, education is a human right for everyone, but refugees face particular challenges because they are often excluded from national education systems and not given the support they need to find education opportunities. Right now, my country, Afghanistan, is a testimony of how important education is. Once you are educated, no one can take that away from you. For tomorrow belongs to the people who prepares it today. There is a need for improved financing mechanisms for refugee education throughout the pandemic. Philanthropy in particular can be directed strategically to complement institutional and private sector funding during crisis. The difficulty of lack of resources for refugees, especially the refugee-led learning centers, the refugee schools, the refugee educational institutions, to carry out activities at the skills needed, being unable to formally register or access bank accounts in many parts of the world. And hence, many of our partners, many of our refugee colleagues are excluded from most official funding opportunities and are often reliant to support from diaspora communities abroad. The donor community has an outstanding opportunity to create this systemic change by funding, by investing, by resourcing refugee-led organizations directly, and more importantly, when we talk about education. The Asia-Pacific Network of Refugees, we aim to do this by transforming the aid sector by example, and by directly funding refugee-led organizations in the region, and ensuring that we are able to provide them capacity building, capacity strengthening support as well, requested by those refugees. To do this, we have initiated an initiative named Refugee Leadership Alliance. Through the Refugee Leadership Alliance, which is a cross-sectoral regional initiative, our aim is to increase networks and, more importantly, funds and influence for refugee leaders in the region. The alliance was formalized in June 2021, and it is focusing on a range of initiatives, including capacity strengthening initiatives, including focusing on a pooled funding concept, which will support refugee-led organizations to thrive when they do access funds. Our plan is to raise $250,000 in 1 year to distribute amongst 8 refugee-led organizations in the Asia-Pacific region. More financial support can relieve the immediate financial pressure on these educational centers that I named, and a lot of them are struggling with their running costs, including rental payments, teachers' fees, internet costs, and providing stationery for students, which basically means better education for refugee kids, and also frees up time and resources to try and achieve structural improvements like organizing partnerships with international schools. I have to say, investing in education is investing in humanity. And with funding support, we are able to bring much more sustainable to the work of refugees in the region.